here are three terrible beliefs I come across very often when I'm working with people, and I'll make this for athletes. Now, I adopted this from psychologists' work who work with people who have mental illness, but I think there's something in this that relates not just to sports, but to life in general, but it can really relate to athletes. So the first belief is, if I can't do something well right away, I must have no talent for it. When I first started shooting a basketball, I was awful. I was really not a good shooter of the basketball. And when I first started hitting a golf ball, I couldn't get the fucking ball off the ground, man. Like, it was so frustrating. No one ever taught me how to swing a golf club. I remember one time, I love my grandfather. He passed away recently, but we were golfing. I was probably in like 9th grade, 10th grade, sophomore, and we were playing around a golf, and I just couldn't get the ball in the fucking air, man. It was like, if you ever played, I was hitting, it was going sideways. I was basically shanking. I just couldn't figure it out. And my grandfather said, golf's just not your sport, buddy. And it pissed me off. I wasn't mad at him, but it's like, no, I'm going to get better at this. So there was a part of me that thought, I can't do this. I'm not a natural at golf. I must have no talent for it. Well, I took 3 lessons, and I practiced what it was taught. And within a year, I was breaking 80. Okay. So sometimes when you can't do something right away, you just got to put in the reps and get good coaching. That's the second part. Make sure you're learning the right way. As soon as someone taught me the fundamentals of a golf swing, so I wasn't like coming over the top and out to in and cutting across it, and I started coming in to out and getting the club face square, boom, it's all snapped into place, okay? So if you have a belief that you're not good at something right away, don't think you don't have talent for it. The same thing happened for me when I first started drawing. Some of my friends were great artists, and just naturally, they did have a natural talent. There are some people who pick things up right away. It's a natural talent. I didn't seem to have that. Well, I worked and I became a decent drawer. I can draw pretty well. I still may not be as good as those people, but I'm not bad, right? Like, you give me anything, I can draw a copy of it. I can draw from life. It's not great. It's not world class, but it's good. I had a certain talent for it. Maybe not world class talent, but just because I was bad right away doesn't mean I can't get better. Okay, so remember that. Second, belief that hinders people. If I make a mistake, people will think less of me, and I could add to that, I will hate myself. Now, the second part might not be conscious, but if you try something and you fail, I failed so much, guys. Oh my God, painful failure, right? It's like broke until I was in my 30s, and then I lost everything again in my late 30s, and I had to rebuild. Still kind of in the process of rebuilding that. And I felt, I'm just being honest with you, like, I said, God, I'm not successful at all. And people think less of me. They don't think I'm anything. I started to believe it myself. I don't feel like I'm good at anything, right? But then I realized it's just a mistake. And you know what? If you wake up the next day, you got a chance. And who cares what people think of you? Like, as you get older, you stop caring what people think. When you're 18, you think everybody's talking to you. Or talking about you. When you're 30, you really think, well, maybe people I care about are talking about me. You don't care about people you don't know talking about you. And then when you hit like 50, or so people tell me are 50, what they say is, nobody really cared what you were doing anyways, and you don't really care what they were doing. So as you go through life, first you care about everybody, what they're saying, then you only care about people that are quote unquote important, and then later on you just don't care either damn way. So I recommend you jumping to the end stage and just stop caring what people think. Now, there's an expert who can critique your work and help you out, that's different, but just the jibber jabber of the masses, who gives a damn, right? And if you can't care what you think, at least you can be bold enough to try. You're going to make mistakes, and successful people are okay with their mistakes. I was just watching a documentary about some famous entrepreneurs, and oh my God, did they fail and were on the cusp of losing it mentally and financially, and they bounce back. Who cares what people think of you is the point. And if you make a mistake, they're worth making. You'll get stronger, you'll get better, and then pretty soon, like, big mistakes don't even bother you. I know my friends who first go into business, it's like they have one mad customer. It's like, oh my God, my world's over. I'm like, okay, yeah, one mad customer, who cares? Or their system goes down for a day. And it's like, that's going to happen a ton. You grow and you can handle more mistakes, and just, you correct very quickly. And the third belief that's limiting is the belief that taking small risks could lead to big failures. So forget about big risks. This relates to the second belief as well, but there's this belief that people have, that if I take a small risk, it could lead to total embarrassment. Just a small risk. If I start this business and it doesn't, God, I could lose everything, right? And so well, maybe that's a big risk for some people, starting a business, or if I quit this job, or in highly successful people, there's this ability to take big risks. And, I think part of it stems from the fact that they realize this life isn't that serious. It's serious in a way, but it's not that serious. Like, we're here for a spiritual purpose. So whether we succeed in business or school or whatever, it doesn't really matter. As long as we're kind and loving and forgiving to other people, like, who cares? The spiritual dimension backs them up. So if you know the main goal in life is to be kind and loving and nice to people, you're succeeding. That's it. You're done. The rest is a game. So go ahead and take big risks. Go for it, right? That's how I counterbalance the fear of big risks. I'll start a business. I'll start multiple businesses at the same time. Everybody says you're crazy. Hey, maybe it's not the winning formula, but I like it. You know what I mean? And if it works out, it works out big. So anyways, just something to think about. These are 3 beliefs that, can hold you back. In sports, and I guess just tie in sports at this point, right? I said I was going to do it, and I kind of went off on a tangent. I talked about it. If you can't do something well right away, you must have no talent for it. That's not true. You can always develop talent. If you make a mistake, people will think less of me. Sometimes people, this happens with coaches, or they're worried about what their parents will think if they make a mistake. So who cares what they think? In the Basketball Brain program, the Killer Instinct Sport program, and the Genius Competitor program, we talk about not needing people's approval. You can want it. That's natural. Of course, you want people to approve of you and your game and your skill and whatever, but you don't need them. You don't need the media. That's not a part of you. You can be honest with yourself and say you want it, but you don't need it, right? And then also, like, taking small risks could lead to failure. So they don't take any risks. Well, I know a lot of athletes who pass the ball in crunch time, right? They don't want it. That little shift to wanting the ball and wanting those risks, again, it ties into that idea of, like, I'm here as a spiritual person. I'm going to need to be kind and loving to people. That's number 1, right? If I miss a game-winning shot, who fucking cares, man? Like, you know what I mean? Think about the games they had in ancient Greece, right? Games in ancient Greece where some guy choked in the Olympics, right? Tripped at the finish line and lost. He was probably just devastated for the rest of his life. Do you care? No, right? Like, nobody cares, really. Like, if they care, it's short term. Like, in 1,000 years, nobody gives a damn. In the Bible, it says, spend your life storing up treasures that will live eternally. And they say a kind act, a loving act, lasts forever. A thing of beauty is a joy forever, they say. And a kind act is a beautiful act, and that lasts forever. It goes to heaven. It's stored in heaven. Your achievements on earth, they don't matter. So you can take big risks. It's fun. It's exhilarating. But in the end, they don't matter ultimately. That's what makes it fun. It's a source of courage to know that. Soldiers kind of know that like the body isn't the end all. So they can risk big. They may die. And you find courage in that. So just be willing to take risks. You're not defined by how you play sport. Who cares? Let people talk about that, but they're, those are losers, man. Who cares? If they're defining who you are as a person, the way you play, you watch SportsCenter and stuff, these guys are like, he's this, he's that, who cares how they play a game? And it doesn't mean you don't take it seriously. It just loosens you up. So you don't care. You don't mind big failure. You know that big risk and even small risk can lead to massive success. So why not do it? Why not do it? Why not go for it? That's a better winning mentality. Growing up, I was always interested in the mental game. After years of study, I developed the Basketball Brain program. My life is devoted to helping others achieve their greatness. I hope you'll like, subscribe, and if you take a chance with the Basketball Brain program, I promise you your game's going to reach levels that you never thought possible.